When someone decides to withdraw communication and create silence, it can profoundly impact the other person, triggering a range of emotions and introspections. Silence is not merely the absence of words, it's a deliberate void that demands attention. For her, the psychological impact of this silence can be powerful, as it compels her to confront thoughts and feelings she may have previously avoided. When you stop talking to her, it's as though a mirror has been held up, reflecting not only her actions and decisions, but also the nuances of the relationship itself. This absence can serve as a catalyst, making her question everything from her role in the connection to the potential reasons for your silence. At first, the silence may feel abrupt, jarring, or even confusing. If the relationship had been marked by frequent conversations and meaningful exchanges, the sudden lack of communication might seem unnatural. The human mind naturally seeks patterns and explanations, so this disruption leads her to analyze what may have gone wrong. She might replay past conversations, scrutinize her behavior, and wonder whether there was a defining moment that led to this outcome. This mental loop can be exhausting as it forces her to dive deeper into her emotions and thoughts, unearthing truths she might not have confronted otherwise. The psychological impact of silence often includes feelings of vulnerability. When words are exchanged, they provide clarity, connection, and often a sense of control. Silence, however, takes away that safety net. She may feel exposed, unsure of where she stands, and uncertain about how to proceed. This emotional vulnerability can manifest in various ways. She might try to mask her discomfort with indifference, overthink every interaction leading up to the silence, or experience a heightened sense of self-awareness. In the stillness, there's no distraction or escape, and this raw vulnerability often becomes a breeding ground for growth or anxiety. Another significant aspect of silence is its ability to prompt self-reflection. When the noise of everyday communication fades away, what's left is the opportunity for introspection. In this quiet space, she is likely to think about her contributions to the relationship. Were there times she took your presence for granted? Did she fail to acknowledge the efforts you made? Was there a lack of empathy or understanding on her part? These questions may not have surfaced in the normal rhythm of life, but the stillness gives them room to emerge. In addition to self-reflection, silence can also force her to confront emotions she may have buried. While conversations allow for the expression of feelings, silence creates a vacuum where suppressed emotions can rise to the surface. Whether it's regret, guilt, sadness, or frustration, these emotions demand attention and processing. This can be a painful but necessary step in personal growth, as unresolved feelings are often obstacles to deeper understanding and emotional evolution. Silence can also have a ripple effect, influencing her perception of the relationship and its dynamics. It might bring to light aspects she hadn't fully appreciated before. The things she once considered insignificant, your kindness, support, or presence might now seem invaluable. Conversely, the silence might also reveal areas where she felt unheard or misunderstood, offering her a more nuanced perspective on the relationship as a whole. This duality makes silence a powerful teacher, as it allows her to see the relationship from angles she may not have considered when words were filling the space. However, the psychological impact of silence isn't solely about reflection or realization, it's also about her response to the situation. Some people react to silence with desperation, reaching out in an attempt to restore communication and resolve the tension. Others might mirror the silence, choosing to retreat further into themselves. Her response will depend on her emotional resilience, personality, and the depth of her feelings for you. If she values the relationship deeply, the silence might prompt her to make amends, initiate a conversation, or express emotions she had previously kept hidden. Interestingly, silence also creates a sense of ambiguity, which can be both unsettling and intriguing. When someone stops talking, it leaves room for interpretation, and the mind often fills in the blanks with assumptions and narratives. She might wonder if your silence is a form of punishment, a test, or simply a way for you to distance yourself. This ambiguity can be frustrating, but it also pushes her to examine her own actions and intentions more closely. In doing so, she gains a clearer understanding of her role in the situation and the relationship's overall dynamics. Moreover, silence has the power to shift the balance of power in a relationship. Communication is a shared activity, and when one person withdraws, it disrupts the equilibrium. She may feel as though the ball is now in her court, prompting her to decide whether to take action or wait for you to make the next move. This shift can be empowering or disorienting depending on her mindset. If she views the silence as an opportunity to grow and improve, it can become a transformative experience. However, if she perceives it as rejection or abandonment, it can lead to feelings of insecurity and doubt. In the end, the psychological impact of silence is deeply personal and varies from person to person. For her, it might serve as a wake-up call, a period of self-discovery, or a moment of clarity. It forces her to confront uncomfortable truths, reevaluate her priorities, and perhaps even make changes that improve her relationships moving forward. While the silence may initially feel like a void, it ultimately holds the potential to create space for growth, healing, and transformation. When you stop talking to someone, it's not just the absence of your voice that creates an impact. Your silence speaks volumes, shaping their thoughts, emotions, and actions in ways that might surprise even them. For her, the silence triggers a reaction, a blend of curiosity, anxiety, and eventual clarity about what the relationship means to her. What becomes evident is that your decision to step back sets a ripple effect into motion, creating a psychological shift that often leads her to reassess not just her actions, but also the role you play in her life. Initially, silence can act as a disruptor. For someone who is used to your presence, the sudden void can feel disorienting. The mind naturally craves closure, and when it's not provided, it begins to create scenarios to fill the gap. She may start to analyze the situation from every angle, wondering what caused the shift. This stage is often marked by overthinking as she replays past conversations and tries to pinpoint a moment or reason that might explain your decision to go silent. This process can feel overwhelming because it forces her to confront thoughts she may have avoided before. As days or weeks pass, the dynamic begins to shift. Your absence introduces an element of mystery and unpredictability, which often heightens her attention. If she was accustomed to your consistent availability, the sudden change can make her realize the weight of your presence in her life. In many cases, this period of silence serves as a reminder of how much value you added, not just in terms of companionship, but in the stability and comfort you provided. It's in the quiet moments of your absence that she may begin to understand the things she previously took for granted. Moreover, your silence can create an emotional vacuum that's difficult to ignore. When communication is frequent, it provides a channel to share emotions, resolve misunderstandings, and affirm connections. Without that channel, unresolved emotions can build up, leading her to confront feelings she might not have acknowledged before. Whether it's regret, guilt, longing, or even anger, these emotions can act as a catalyst for personal reflection. She may start questioning whether her actions or words contributed to your withdrawal, and this introspection often becomes a turning point. Interestingly, your silence also shifts the dynamics of control in the relationship. In many interpersonal connections, communication can sometimes be a tool for reassurance or influence. By stepping back, you remove that tool from the equation, placing the onus on her to decide how to respond. This shift can feel empowering for you and simultaneously disconcerting for her as she navigates the unfamiliar territory of not having you readily accessible. In this space, she's left to determine how much she values the relationship and what steps, if any, she's willing to take to bridge the gap. Silence also introduces a degree of ambiguity that can heighten curiosity and even desire. The human mind is drawn to mysteries, and your lack of communication leaves her with unanswered questions. Is this silence a sign of disinterest, or is it an attempt to reset the dynamic? Is it temporary, or does it signify a deeper issue? These questions can occupy her thoughts, creating a heightened awareness of your absence. In some cases, this ambiguity can rekindle interest and spark a renewed effort on her part to engage with you. However, this isn't solely about her response, it's also about what silence represents in a broader sense. Silence is a boundary. It's a way of saying, without words, that you value your peace, your priorities, and your sense of self. For her, this can serve as a subtle but powerful message that you are not someone who tolerates disrespect, neglect, or complacency. It reminds her that relationships are reciprocal and that both parties need to contribute to their growth and sustainability. During this period of silence, she might also experience a sense of urgency to reconnect. This urgency can manifest in various ways, attempting to reach out, asking mutual friends about you, or even trying to make amends if she feels she's at fault. This is where silence becomes an opportunity for her to demonstrate whether she's willing to invest effort in the relationship. It's not about creating a power struggle, but rather about allowing space for both individuals to reflect and recalibrate. In some cases, silence can act as a mirror, reflecting her own behavior back to her. If she's been dismissive, unkind, or inattentive, your withdrawal might bring those actions to light. It forces her to take accountability for her role in the dynamic and consider how she can grow from the experience. This is especially true if the silence is accompanied by a sense of finality or seriousness. The realization that your presence is not guaranteed can serve as a wake-up call, prompting her to reevaluate how she approaches not just this relationship, but others as well. Ultimately, your silence carries a deeper message than words often can. It signals self-respect, emotional maturity, and the willingness to prioritize your well-being over external validation. For her, this silence can be a transformative experience as it compels her to confront truths she may have otherwise ignored. In this quiet space, there's potential for growth, healing, and a renewed understanding of what truly matters. And whether she chooses to step forward or step away, the silence has done its job by creating clarity for both of you. When you stop communicating with someone, it's not just your absence that speaks, but the way the absence forces introspection, vulnerability, and a reassessment of the dynamics at play. For her, this silence can create a potent mixture of emotions that ultimately highlight the reality of the connection you shared. If the bond was significant, your decision to go quiet challenges her to reflect deeply on her actions, intentions, and priorities in ways that might not have been possible through direct interaction. Initially, your silence may stir feelings of confusion or even frustration. This reaction is natural. People are accustomed to certain patterns in their relationships and winnow the shade. And when those patterns change suddenly, it creates a cognitive dissonance that demands attention. She might wonder why you chose to step back, replaying past conversations and moments to identify a trigger or reasoning behind your silence. This phase can feel overwhelming as the mind naturally gravitates toward filling in gaps with assumptions. These assumptions, though sometimes inaccurate, act as the first layer of her internal reckoning. As time passes, confusion gives way to a more focused emotional response. The absence of communication removes the distractions of external validation or conflict, forcing her to confront the core emotions tied to your relationship. She may feel sadness, guilt, or regret, especially if she realizes that her actions contributed to your decision. Alternatively, she might experience anger or resentment if she perceives your silence as a form of manipulation or punishment. This emotional turbulence is not inherently negative. In fact, it often serves as a catalyst for deeper reflection and self-awareness. Your silence also compels her to reconsider the balance of power within the relationship. In many cases, consistent communication creates a sense of predictability that allows one party to take the other's presence for granted. By stepping back, you disrupt this balance, forcing her to reevaluate her assumptions about the relationship and her role in it. This disruption often leads to moments of clarity, where she recognizes not only the value of your presence, but also the way she may have taken that presence light. Interestingly, your silence may ignite a sense of longing or nostalgia. The absence of your voice, support, or companionship can make her acutely aware of the void left in her life. She may begin to reflect on moments of connection that once felt ordinary but now carry a profound sense of importance. This longing is not just about missing you, it's about the realization of how integral you were to her emotional stability and happiness. It's in these moments of longing that she may start to question her own behavior and whether she prioritized the relationship appropriately. This emotional journey often leads to a phase of self-evaluation. If she perceives your silence as a response to hurtful or dismissive behavior, she may take this opportunity to assess her actions more critically. This process requires vulnerability as it involves acknowledging flaws, missteps, or areas for growth. In this sense, your silence serves as a mirror, reflecting her behavior back to her in a way that words never could. The absence of communication eliminates the noise of defensiveness or justification, leaving her to face the unvarnished truth. Simultaneously, she may begin to reassess her priorities. Relationships, by their nature, require effort, respect, and mutual appreciation. Your silence can highlight areas where these elements were lacking, prompting her to question what truly matters in her life. If she values the connection, this period of reflection may motivate her to make meaningful changes, not only in how she interacts with you, but also in how she approaches relationships in general. This is where your silence becomes transformative, not as a punishment, but as an opportunity for growth on both sides. For you, maintaining silence requires discipline and emotional resilience. It's not easy to withhold communication, especially when emotions are running high. But in doing so, you create space for authenticity to emerge. This space is essential for both parties to gain clarity about what they truly want and need. For her, the silence may bring moments of revelation about her feelings, desires, and intentions. If she truly values the relationship, your absence will inspire her to bridge the gap with sincerity and effort. Moreover, your silence underscores the importance of boundaries and self-respect. It's a way of communicating without words that you are not willing to settle for less than mutual effort and respect. For her, this can be a powerful lesson in understanding that relationships thrive on reciprocity and that taking someone for granted has consequences. If she chooses to respond to your silence by reaching out or making amends, it demonstrates her willingness to invest in the relationship moving forward. Ultimately, your silence is not just an absence, it's an act of communication in its own right. It conveys the need for introspection, accountability, and balance in a way that direct words often cannot. For her, it represents a chance to grow, to understand, and to decide how much she values what you bring to the table. Whether this leads to reconciliation or parting ways, the experience leaves both of you with greater clarity and a deeper understanding of yourselves and each other. When someone experiences your silence, they are inevitably left to grapple with the absence of your presence. This void can act as a powerful lens through which they come to understand your role in their life and confront truths they may have avoided or overlooked. For many, it becomes an emotional awakening, a moment where the realization of what you offered in terms of support, understanding, or companionship becomes glaringly clear. The dynamic of silence does more than remove you from the equation. It shines a spotlight on their behavior, choices, and the dynamics of the relationship. As time passes, silence often transforms into a profound force for self-reflection. When someone is no longer able to rely on your communication or predict your responses, they are forced to confront the reality of their own actions. This period of introspection can be uncomfortable yet necessary. It may bring up questions about the way they treated you, the things they said, or the energy they contributed or failed to contribute to the relationship. In this way, your absence acts as a teacher, highlighting areas where they may have taken you for granted or assumed too much. This space for reflection also creates an opportunity for them to examine their own emotional needs. The loss of your presence might expose the ways in which they depended on you for validation, comfort, or guidance. They may realize that they leaned on you more than they were willing to admit or even acknowledge. This acknowledgement is a pivotal moment because it can lead to greater self-awareness and a better understanding of what they need to work on to become more self-reliant and emotionally balanced. The silence you offer also serves to reset the balance of power within the relationship. When one person continuously gives or communicates, it's easy for the other to slip into a position of complacency. By stepping back, you effectively interrupt this cycle, requiring the other person to reassess their role and contribution. In doing so, they may start to see the ways in which they fell short or failed to reciprocate the level of effort and attention you gave. This reevaluation can be humbling, even painful, but it's often what prompts real growth. Interestingly, your silence may also encourage them to step outside their comfort zone. Without your input or guidance, they may feel compelled to explore parts of themselves or their life that they had neglected. Perhaps they realize that they relied too heavily on you for emotional support, or that they need to develop stronger communication skills. These realizations can act as a springboard for personal growth, enabling them to become more independent and emotionally resilient. For some, your silence can lead to feelings of regret or even guilt. They may start to see how their actions or lack thereof pushed you to this point. This guilt can be a powerful motivator for change, encouraging them to take responsibility for their part in the breakdown of communication. If they truly value the relationship, this realization may lead them to reach out with genuine intent to repair the connection. On the other hand, if they choose not to act, it becomes a clear indicator of where their priorities lie, giving you the clarity you need to move forward. Your absence also forces them to confront their fears and insecurities. In many cases, the loss of communication triggers a fear of abandonment or rejection, leading to a deeper understanding of their own emotional vulnerabilities. These feelings, while uncomfortable, are a natural part of the human experience. They offer a chance for the person to confront and work through these fears, ultimately emerging stronger and more self-aware. On a deeper level, silence can also serve as a reminder of the importance of respect and reciprocity in relationships. When someone realizes that your silence is not out of spite but out of self-respect, it challenges them to rethink how they approach not only your relationship but also their interactions with others. It's a subtle but powerful lesson in valuing the people in one's life and recognizing the impact of one's actions or inactions. Ultimately, your decision to remain silent is not about punishing the other person, but about reclaiming your own sense of peace and self-worth. It's a statement that says you will no longer accept less than you deserve, nor will you continue to pour energy into a situation that doesn't honor your boundaries. For the other person, this realization can be a turning point. It gives them the space to decide what they truly want and how much effort they are willing to put into making things right. As they process these emotions and reflections, they are left with a choice to let the silence remain or to use it as an opportunity to grow and reconnect. If they choose the latter, it can lead to a more authentic and balanced relationship built on mutual respect and understanding. If they choose the former, it serves as a reminder that silence is sometimes the clearest answer of all. Either way, the silence achieves its purpose. It brings clarity, fosters growth, and protects your peace.